Kostic, and still he's squared it for Fagioli. Back-to-back weeks. The kids are all right for Allegri. Niccolò Fagioli puts Inter out of their misery.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me on this 203rd iteration of the Turin Giants podcast. Sam Adamo coming at you. Get at me at Calcio podcast. I'm joined by the handsome and powerful Dave Furfaro and Dash Faiza. How are we, gents? All's well?
Oh, yes, things are great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Super in a good mood. I mean, it's almost like a victory Monday, victory Tuesday, huh? I mean, it's just we're rolling. We got some hype going. We got some energy right now.
So I asked you, how are we feeling? Are we taking on a positive tone, or are we going to kind of be somber, or a little bit more, how should I say, realistic, I suppose, in the grand scheme of this podcast, given how things are looking in the grand scheme of things, in the macro, sense. We haven't potted for a couple of weeks, and some bad things have happened in the last couple of weeks, but some good things have happened as well. So where do we skew here, is what I was asking you guys. And you said that the channel's riding pretty high. So are we going to take that momentum in for the podcast listeners as well here? Because this is, of course, the 203rd edition of the pod. It's also streaming live on YouTube. You can go back and watch this on YouTube if you wish, as we do now and again now. But you guys said that the mood is pretty good right now. And how could it not be, right? With an intro like that, right? Yeah, on the back of a derby win.
I think it's amazing. There's a huge recency bias right now, but who cares? Like we are riding that wave. And if there are just podcast listeners out there that haven't been for the YouTube channel, maybe they don't know, but the channel's kind of bumping right now. And I want to take everyone on that ride right now. Like, come aboard. We're going. Let's get after this. Momentum's great. And it's great with the team as well. So why not? Let's do it.
Milan Todd Cremonese 0-0 today. Dave Furfaro said in our Turin Giants group chat, guys, we're only 5 points back of second place, and we have a game in hand.
Yep.
So we're doing it. We're really going after it, boys. I mean, it's November.
It's tangible.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Allegri sees a goal, walks off, smirking, but not really smiling, but trying to hold back the smile.
Yeah.
Guys, come on. That's what 10 million euro a year will get you.
Yeah,
exactly. Nonchalant smile with a wink at the end. That is what 10 million is.
Oh man, he tries so hard not to react. I love it. Even in the replays, they made sure to hone in on his face to show that he has zero emotion. This guy.
Josh, what say you?
It's like he's almost like the Italian Kanye West in that shot, man. Because it's like, you ever get Kanye and it's just like he's smiling and then the camera goes on him and it's just like a straight mean mug. It's kind of like how it worked with Allegri, because like you watch him, he turns around the second the goal goes in, he turns around, he's kind of chuckling, and then he sees that corner, that main touchline camera start panning towards him, and he's like, he kind of smirks and then he just straight faces it. So like,
yeah.
He's playing to the camera a little bit. Yeah. Do you guys see that video of him saying there was a doctor? I don't want to say what background he was. It was a doctor that took care of me. I'm not allowed to say what kind of doctor, his background he was, but it was a Jewish doctor, and he smirks. Did you guys see that video?
I did, but that seems amazing.
He's playing up. He knows what's selling now. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It's incredible. Based on how the results are skewing and what the vibe in the camp is like, I think affects my ability. I'm speaking for myself here. It affects my ability to enjoy Max Allegri's press conferences. They could be puzzling to a lot of people. They seem to be puzzling to a lot of people, especially most people don't sit and watch the full press conference. First of all, they're in Italian. So global listeners who listen to this pod are English speaking primarily. Most of them aren't listening to the podcast. Excuse me. Jesus Christ. Most of them aren't listening to the whole press conferences. People who are listening to the podcast, right?
I was going to say, I'm like, oh, crap.
No, the pod's thriving. Most of the pod listeners aren't watching the podcast. Holy fuck, I did it again.
You're all over the place.
This press conference and podcast both start with P. There's alliteration that's a little confusing. I apologize. Most English-speaking listeners of the pod, and I suppose viewers on the channel, are probably not listening to full press conferences, right? I think that's fair to say. I think a lot of people on Twitter, the Twitter kind of sphere that we're like consuming, they're not doing it either. There is a contingent of people in Italy who do watch it and get puzzled and kind of have the same reaction. There's not a lot that's lost in translation, but let's try to be fair. A lot of things get just kind of taken as headlines or as quotes. The Italian media is especially weird with quotes too. They'll put quotation marks on things. I've joked about this on my pod for years, but they'll put quotations on things that were literally not cited, or they'll cite things that were not said verbatim. They'll say, Allegri might say, I think Fagioli will start next week. That's verbatim what he said. And then the Italian media will phrase it as Fagioli ? May start. There's a little bit of like mustard on it in a weird way.
Yeah.
So they do that. In spite of this, the pressers are a little bit confusing sometimes to a lot of people. I think that's fair to say. When things are going well, though, I find it charming.
Yeah.
Charming.
Yeah. I'm telling you, he's the Italian Kanye West. Because, like, you'll listen to an interview and you're just absolutely confused. Like, what just happened? It's like, every time I see Allegri, I think of that Kobe Bryant Kanye commercial where Kobe's like, more winning. And then Kanye's like, what does that even mean? That's like how I feel like when I watch an Allegri presser sometimes when I'm just listening to it or even reading it. Like, there'll be times where we're doing like show notes for our pregame and our postgame shows, and we're like reading the Allegri quotes, and I'm like looking at it and I'm like trying to paraphrase it.
Yeah, he really said it. Yeah, I know what you mean. But you know what it is? It's like there's like a kernel truth. You know, Kanye's hitting a lot of the right notes, and then it's like, oh, you just you
yeah, that's it. That's it.
You missed the mark, but you're close. But you're diverting your attention and yeah, it's I know what you mean.
It's like listening to a politician, really, is all it is.
But you know, one thing I appreciate about Allegri is he'll say in a presser, guys, what do you want me to do? I'd love it if we had Chiesa and Pogba and Di Maria back, but we don't. This is what it is. What do you got? You know, and I think that we have to acknowledge, and I'm proud to say that I've never been full on Allegri out personally, where I'm like, it's the only solution. I've said I understand why you might argue that, but you know, put yourself in the shoes of management. And it sounds like they were on the brink of a civil war. I mean, within management, but let's still kind of look at the point of view of Agnelli, who you know, signs the checks at the end of the day. He's like, look, I understand that there are extenuating circumstances to an extent that are, you know, that have befallen us. That's real. That's relevant.
Yeah.
It makes sense that you might want to kind of ride it out with the guy. How bad could things get? You know, missing the Champions League, short. Like, I mean, that would be very bad for the club in the grand scheme of things and for the plan next year. But you almost have to like just let it happen and not just hit the panic button and say we got to bring in someone new because we just need some kind of change, and hopefully change is what's going to propel us to more consistent, you know, results. And because listen, things are what they are now. We're out of the Champions League. It's over. We have to not fail to qualify for the Champions League. If we do that, then anything else that happens, I think, is gravy given how the season started. But I also think that, you know, that's kind of just a regular season supporting a top flight club. You don't win the title all the time.
Yeah,
we did, but
no,
you don't generally.
Oh, we're spoiled. We're spoiled little brats winning 9 in a row like that. It's insane.
Well, yeah. And I mean, and it's evidence in the fan base as well. Like, I mean, like you can tell, like, for example, the old Juve fans, like the OG, I don't want to say OGs because that's a terrible term, but like people that have been fans before 2011. Because like the thing is like, if, you know, I've been following these guys since the 90s. So I've seen it all. I've seen the highs and lows. I've seen the Calciopoli. I've seen everything. So like for me, it's like, guys, I've seen this club play in Serie B. Like this right now, this doesn't even faze me what's going on right now. It's just like a little bit of a low bump, and then that's kind of it. Like it means nothing to me. Or it's like you can talk to a younger Juve fan where they're kind of like, oh my God, and blah, blah, blah. Because the thing is I've noticed recently that, of course, like you have your bandwagon fans that'll hop on when a team's doing well, etc. Like, for example, in any sports league. But it's just the younger fans that have just recently joined the club because they were winning 9 in a row because of Ronaldo, because of Dybala, etc., where it's like this is the first time they're kind of seeing Juve struggle. So they're kind of having like a what happened? What's going on? And it's normal, but I think it's us more so on us as like the more veteran guys where we're like telling these fans like, hey guys, it's a rough patch, chill, relax. We're not going to go into this banter era. We're not going to, become Inter and Milan for 10 years where they were an absolute laughing stock. Just relax.
We've been put away wet before. We know what it's like to be a little damp for a while. It's okay. We'll dry off and we'll get rode again.
I also don't think we're out of the woods here. Let's be honest. I mean, it was a great
of
weekend, but
course.
does anyone really think that we're going to win the title? Allegri thinks that there's a chance we can contend now.
Well,
I mean, come on.
That's
It's
Allegri though.
yeah, but
He's
yeah,
gotta say
sure,
it.
you're right. I know. I understand. That's fair, but I think it's reasonable to say that we're not going to look. This is Sam. I'm speaking matter of factly here. I don't know the future, but if I had to put my life on, the line here, listen, we're not winning any title, and it's still going to be a very frustrating year. I believe that. I don't think that we're going to beat Napoli and Milan and Roma and Lazio and Atalanta in every one of the games that we face them. There's going to be times when we draw some of them, and you're allowed to drop points, but there'll be a game where we struggle to score against Cremonese, and it happens. Milan have had a great year so far. They've had a really good calendar year, and on a Tuesday sometimes they'll lose to a newly promoted side, or drop points to a newly promoted side. It's gonna happen, and we could go through another injury crisis, God knows. Like, the point is to say that we aren't going into a banter era. We don't know that. Nothing changes week by week. We have to kind of look at things on the aggregate, with a wider lens, I suppose. And we'll only really know at the end of the year of how at risk we are of kind of falling back into that same pattern. But I think that if you start looking for different solutions with different coaches and hoping that one of them sticks eventually, I think that's where it can get dangerous. So there's some merit to the idea of just rolling with one guy and sticking with him, even though he's stubborn and he may not be perfect.
Well, and I mean,
Nobody's perfect anyways.
yeah, and Arsenal, like, I'll give Arsenal props on this one. Like, they actually hit it right with Mikel Arteta because, like, the guy has his own principles. He's stubborn to his own way, and like the first 2 seasons of Mikel Arteta, like Arsenal, like I think 12th or 13th, and
Yeah, they were bad.
now that they're finally clicking and now they're starting to roll. And the thing is like I'm not a big fan of the whole coach carousel. I think it's absolutely stupid because the thing is why would you do a transfer policy, get certain players for a guy that you're not going to extend or keep for a long time? I'm not a big fan of the coach carousels because the thing is every team has a cycle. Right now, we're in the middle of the old guard transitioning into the new guard. You're going to have off years. Real Madrid had off years. I mean, Bayern Munich, when they were transitioning out of Robin and all of those guys, they had an off season or two. And the thing is I'm not saying that we're out of the woods. But the thing is like, one expectation that I have is when we're playing the Lazios, the Milans, and those guys, being able to at least win or get points at home is, a step in the right direction. I'm not saying like, the maximum is getting a draw against those guys, but like, for example, Inter, we played them at home, we got 3 points. So being able to beat these teams at home, or at least secure some kind of points from these teams at home, is kind of moving towards the right direction. If we're playing, like, for example, last season at this point, we were losing 1-0 to Atalanta in Turin when we played them last year. So it's like, that's something that's not acceptable. Like, for example, if we compare the 2-0 loss that we suffered in Milan to the 1-0 loss against Atalanta last season at home, that's way worse, in my opinion, because the thing is we're at home. I know that we're not, and I don't have that kind of future thought about pushing for a title, but at least getting into second or third, so we're not kind of teetering on the edge of fourth and fifth. But we have to get points against those teams at home when we're winning. We need to win. We need to get at least some kind of point total from the home games against the top 6.
I think the Champions League run has really kind of dampened the mood, because otherwise we might be a little bit more able to stomach, or we'll be more willing to stomach where we're at in the league right now and how things have looked. We've not, we've not gone undefeated. Okay, we've slipped up. That's fair, but I think that there have been some relatively promising things here and there. Listen, the kids who we've kind of been featuring sporadically throughout the season have been interesting. It's been interesting to see Allegri being put in a position where he kind of has his back to the wall and have to play them. It's not ideal. We all like to romanticize the idea of playing young kids. They're young for a reason. A lot of them were playing in Serie C last year. And yeah, there's a problem in Italian football where you don't start 17, 18-year-old wonder kids and you wait till they're 21. And, sometimes Fagioli, after a couple of loans, decides to grab the bull by the horns, and maybe that's the season that he does it this year, right? Maybe this is that year, and it's going to be the year that we're like, hey, like he came into his own, he became a man this year. That's great, but a lot of young players are considered young when they're teenagers, right? I mean, it's young as a relative term, but the point is,
Italy,
it's not like there's a culture of. Yeah. Look, Quagliarella won the Capocannoniere as a 30-some-odd-year-old, 37 was he? Di Natale, Tony have. It's fair. It's a slower league. It's a more tactical league. It's possible that you guys are right in your assessment. It's a less technical league, right? It's compared to Spain, where there's a little bit more flair. Even in England, I find that you kind of have. And listen, modern football, lends itself well to flair in a lot of different areas and, across leagues. But I think there are certain tendencies that you tend to see in Italy versus Spain versus Germany versus France versus Holland, whatever the case may be. This is a long roundabout way of saying, guys, it's been interesting that despite some of the adversity that we faced, we've kind of managed to be relatively respectable in the league. And it's not just because we played young guys that, we're necessarily going to bear that we're going to bear. I suppose it's not necessarily because we're playing young guys that's going to bear fruit. It's a nice idea, but we don't know how things are going to go until we actually see them pan out. And then you realize that, it can be tough. It can be difficult for some guys in Champions League matches against PSG or even a side like Benfica. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Of course it is, but we've been cursed by injuries, right?
At least
I think that's kind of I know, but I think that's kind of forced the hand of Allegri to play the young guys. Yeah. And then we kind of forget that. Listen, we bombed in the Champions League group, but in a lot of ways, like we simply didn't have the type of elite side that you would hope to field against other elite sides. I think
and you
could
playing
qualify.
PSG.
And Benfica are a good fucking side, man.
They're absolutely on fire.
So, right. But so it's almost as all this to say, like, I think we maybe kind of are allowing the bombing in the Champions League to dampen our mood, or our maybe not our mood. I mean, I think we're all in a good mood today, right now. Collectively, I think we're all in a good place this week. But I mean, I think that there's a little less optimism around the club, and there's a little bit more skepticism toward Allegri just broadly, right? Ooh, I don't know, right? The Champions League campaign was very bad. It's fair, but you have to kind of look at the extenuating circumstances, and one of those three clubs was not going to make it out, and one of those three clubs was going to be left disappointed. Benfica probably would have been like, it is what it is. We were up against two larger sides but they haven't lost a game. But they've they and their fans could have reasonably hoped to get out of the group. Someone has to lose. It was us. Whatever, I'm agreeing that things are still too early to be, painted with such a broad brush as to say, hey, it's awful.
So I'll try to play the middle ground on this one, and I think hypothetically, if we were to go through the Europa League and make it to the final or even win the thing, I think people forget about the Champions League group stages. Like I would be surprised if people start, well, oh man, we bombed out of the Champions League. Well, dude, congratulations, you're in pot one and you get 20 million euros for winning the Europa League. Like, it's literally the same thing as winning the Champions League group or getting out of the group. So it's if
we got, I believe if we go to the round of 16, we get an extra 16 mil. But if you win the Europa League, you get 20 mil.
Yeah.
So obviously you have to win it. It's
a hard thing to do, by the way.
It is.
No, it is. Especially Barcelona.
And there's three teams right now in disarray, three giants: Barcelona, Man United, and Juve. Yeah. That I don't know that we are in complete disarray, but listen, as we said, it's still too early for the verdict to be out, right? And listen, the things have been bad enough that the BBC did a feature on them and almost, asked to have Sam Adamo on the fucking show, right? Like,
yeah, let's talk about that.
No, but that's not even me tooting my own horn. That's actually just just the fact that the BBC would even choose to focus in on them.
It's a good point, but you were the guy chosen.
Yeah, I was. Well, Dash was supposed to be chosen too, and they canceled on him an hour out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll boycott them next time and say
It's the
gotta be live, and I'll
sunglasses,
just...
Dash. You need to get tints.
I know. I needed. Well, the thing is like Sam didn't have any sunglasses. I'm like, oh my god, he has eyes because I'm always used to seeing him with sunglasses. I was like, no way.
I should have leaned into it a little bit more, but I could have said the craziest shit ever, and it made the host bust a gut. It wouldn't have mattered. They would have just chopped it out. It wasn't live, so it's just one of those things that they want informative takes. They don't want amusing ones. So it's whatever. But
so there's
three giant. Look, there's three giants right now who are all in complete disarray that all think, hey, well, we have to win the Europa League right now. Listen, two of those sides are definitely not going to win it. One of them may not. All three of them may not. Right. All three of them may not. But if one of them does win and two of them don't, they're all going to be left saying, it's a disappointment. We didn't win it. We have to kind of just be realistic and frank with ourselves.
But we still need to go out and try for it. We got to fight. That's the whole point of being a fan, right? Is just getting excited over there's nothing that makes any sense about being a sports fan. So it doesn't matter. Champions League, Europa League, Conference League, Canadian Premier League. Who cares? If it's your team and they're fighting for a championship, just be excited. Be irrational. Have fun.
The thing is not to walk into the Europa League with an entitlement and being like, oh yeah, we're totally walking this through. But like, if we think about it, because we got not in the first round of the round of 32, and then like Barcelona and Man U are playing against each other. So one of those two is automatically going to be done by the end of this round. And then realistically, we'd be looking at Arsenal, us, and the winner of Man U and Barcelona is like the three juggernauts that are in there. And then, you need Lady Luck to go your way, but I think, and the thing is like, for me, I think the Europa League is a good momentum booster for the club, for them to at least make it a reasonable run. Because think about it, say that we finish second in our Champions League group and we're up against Bayern. Is everyone sitting here thinking like, oh, hell yeah, we're going to win this one, or we're going to go far against Bayern Munich, or we're going to push Bayern Munich, versus where everyone's more optimistic with not, because it's, again, not trashing on them, but currently where they're at with their form and how they're playing, they're in the relegation zone in France. So in theory, we should be able to beat these guys, get some momentum for the next round, and keep rolling.
It's 12 points over 11 games, I believe it is.
Yeah. So I think if once we start getting into the Europa League, I think people will forget about the Champions League group stages if we're able to put a respectable run in it. My only question is about putting a respectable run in it. Do we have the depth to actually take it seriously? Or are we going to pull a Lazio and just send a bunch of random 11 out there and just, hope it sticks and then get sent to the Conference League?
No, I don't think so. No.
No, they have to save.
They're gonna go. They're gonna go for. They got to go for broke, and then if it doesn't work out, it looks worse because it looks like you tried, but there's nothing else to really play for.
Of course, Juve, that's the whole point.
Yeah, you say that, and then what if things really turn and Napoli go on a 3-game skid where they lose a match and tie 2, and then we beat them before Christmas? Like, listen, I'm hypothetically,
the battlefield always changes, right?
I'm saying
adapt with that.
Yeah, so right. So in this made up hypothetical that I'm creating here, if we have a shot in like April or like March to overtake Napoli, and we have a huge game coming up, and we have a Europa League quarterfinal match, at that point, I think you gotta probably prioritize the title. If it's the Champions League quarterfinal, I think you say, hey, like, we kind of hold these on like equal level here. But I don't know.
It's a good point though, because the fans would be split. It's going to be hard for the management to really say which one's better than the next.
And we have months before that.
We really do.
Returns, right? So
Europa doesn't start until February. The league
so we got months. We got months before we know how things look for us in the grand scheme of things. Like, listen, by the time the Europa League returns, by the time European football returns, the Europa League, the Champions League, after the World Cup, right? We'll have a lot's going to have happened, right? The World Cup will have happened. Maybe guys will get injured at the World Cup. Maybe we'll buy or sell someone based on performance at the World Cup. God knows, right? And we'll have a better idea of how we're looking in the grand scheme of the leg this year. So, we don't let's not get too overly rambunctious over the Europa League. It is what it is. You know, we're
Yeah.
gonna play. We're gonna have to play it. We're gonna have to try to keep our dignity. I think it's all like it's a bit of a risk. I've said this before about like weird competitions on my pod once. I think I said like the Conference League is kind of like for Roma, right? They lost to, now ironically they actually won the competition last year, but when I gave this take, it was like right at the end of the group stage when they had lost to that Norwegian side twice, Bodo Glimt, and I said like, what is this? You know, like the Conference League, and I would argue that for Juve it's kind of the same thing, but I argued like for Roma, it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like raw dog and a sorority girl every week, you know. like eventually something bad's gonna happen, you know. Like it's very high risk, low reward. You know, if you win, great. You know, you win the Conference League. Who cares? Now, as we saw, it meant a lot to those fans,
Sure,
because whatever, you know. But you know, is it one of those things where it's like you almost have to just save yourself the possibility of being embarrassed?
No, I get it. So let me ask you guys these questions. Let me ask you guys this question. I'll throw this on the table. So let's look at the titles right now. The titles that we're in right now. So Europa League, Coppa Italia, and the Scudetto.
Yeah.
So if you were the board right now, and you guys are sitting there kind of strategizing for the next, you know, the second half of the season, what title do you prioritize out of the three?
The league, because I think the next couple rounds in Europa should be cakewalks. So you got to focus on the league. And then if the competition gets real in Europa League, okay, maybe assess at that point. But until then, it's still the league.
All right. So and then for the league, let me break it down, just because again, the league, someone can say a top 4 finish or, you know, a top 3 finish or the title. So like for the league, are you saying, Dave, are you saying like a top 4 finish in the league, or are you saying go for Scudetto?
And here's the tricky thing. So we're 13 points out. We do have a game in hand regardless. So say we win, still that 10 points. Like Napoli does not lose apparently, and they maintain that gap. At this point, it seems out of reach, but it is still so early. So at this point, you aim for the top 4, but know that number 1's possible. So you might as well just aim for number 1, go for it, knowing that it's Napoli, and they are notorious for just shitting her.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
completely
there's a lot of pressure on them in that city too. Just because it's not even because fans expect it, but it's because when things go well, their fans get very excited.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. They only, you know, there's not 2 teams in Naples. It's one of the biggest cities in Italy. There's 2 teams in Rome. There's 2 teams in Milan. There's 2 teams in Verona. There were actually until like last year. I think Chiesa went bankrupt. I found that out the other day. Yeah, whatever. There's 2 teams in Turin. There's 2 teams in Genova. Yeah. You know, there's 1 team in Palermo. You go to Palermo, it's Palermo, right? In Napoli, but whatever. So Napoli kind of has that same energy, and that's real. When they do well, the entire city gets excited, and you feel it, and it could be a positive momentum that kind of propels you forward. But we have seen them bottle it almost all the time, right, for the past 30 years. Now they haven't even competed for titles a lot of those 30 years, but in the last decade in particular, they've had a couple of seasons where they've come close. And
there's that one season that just inched them out right at the end.
2018, right? Yeah, there was also
91
15.
Yeah, like come on, you get 91 points and you can't win this. That's insane.
Yeah, man. Look, like it's here's what it is. Those 6-point games are real. Like those 6-point swings are real, right? So if Napoli lose to Empoli today and we win our game in hand, great. We're 3 points closer. But if we're the ones who are actually playing them, and we haven't played them yet, we have to play them twice, right?
Yeah,
if we can inflict damage on them twice, that's big. Now it's also the only chance you really have. If you don't win both of those games, you're not winning a title. Which
but if you do,
yeah, well, you effectively have to. If you're Milan, you could argue the same thing too. If Napoli, especially with the gap being as it is right now, but if Napoli can kind of, if they could beat Milan twice, it's over, right? Milan's not winning a title, right? It'll have to be Atalanta, or it'll have to be us, or it'll have to be Inter or Roma, and all of these are increasingly less likely, right? But you understand.
Yeah, the stats,
so right. So to answer your question, Dash, I think it's the league that you have to prioritize first, but I think it's an ego thing. I think you almost have this weird tendency to probably, as a big club, puff out your chest and say, you know what, like we're gonna go after the Europa League. It's like it feels like something that you may be a little bit almost ashamed of doing or embarrassed to do. And don't say there's no shame in it. There is, right? Like if Real Madrid won the Europa League, you know, the fans would be, you know, I'm sure they'd be happy and they'd clap that they won that game, but they wouldn't, you know, nobody would be crying in the street.
Well,
you know?
it's like dead, it's dead news in July. I mean, it feels good in the end of May, June, and then everyone forgets about it in July.
Yeah,
I totally
I
get
suppose.
that.
But
So
yeah, exactly.
it's
You know,
still,
but
it's still a thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but again, it's something. But I think they prioritize the league. I think that's what I would do. Dash asked the question. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, in the comments, Wagwan, what it do? I know last time on the pod we didn't, you know, take a lot of your guys' comments as much as Dash and Dave normally do when you know, it's just the YouTube live show. But feel free, you know, comment. We can kind of get to some feedback on the fly if you guys are so inclined. If anything, you know, does pique our interest. So don't be shy, guys. You know what I was realizing? I just want to circle back, unless either of you guys have anything to kind of add back to the Europa League talk kind of that we're kind of getting into right now.
I just love the possibility, the storyline that Kostic can win it 2 years in a row with two different teams.
Yeah, that's everyone's dream. To win the Europa League twice in a row.
No, I just think it'd be cool.
See, the problem about that storyline is that's already happened in the Champions League with Samuel Eto'o, where he won it with Barcelona and then he went to Inter and won it right after in 2009 and then the 2010 season. So like that one's already been done. So it's like,
I think what it is though, okay, maybe the reason being is because a lot of people have kind of been throwing shade towards Kostic as of late.
Yeah.
And he continues to prove that he's got it. He's got what, 5 assists now?
He doesn't miss a cross.
No.
He's very good. And he's man, he put Denzel Dumfries on ice a couple times.
And that's the thing. People say, oh, he can't dribble. He's one-dimensional. He just dribbled past Inter.
Did you guys see?
He'll be at the World Cup. I'm excited about.
Did you guys see the clip where he skinned Barella for that goal to Rabiot, or the assist to Rabiot? Like, he had his back to Rabiot, or not Rabiot, to Barella, backheeled nutmegged Barella and just drove. Like, he skinned their best midfielder like it was nobody's business. Like, that was absolutely insane. And then, like, the fact that he was able to find Fagioli with that through ball.
Good recruitment.
Like, yeah, man.
Good recruitment.
He's an assist machine.
And could I
it's the end of Alexandro, right? It's the end of Alexandro as well, right?
Oh, for sure.
So
but another thing I got to point out too, because that almost went the other way as well, with Fagioli's very sweet pass over the top to Kostic, who drilled it, went off the keeper's hand, hit the post. But that pass, like those two linked up.
Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember that save? That was, oh my god! I thought that would have been a pornographic goal. Yeah.
But still, even on the replay, that pass was beautiful.
You guys listener, you guys all know what we're talking about, right? That was the
fingertip save.
That was when Onana. Yeah, that was I'll tell you, as a goalkeeper, that's a really impressive. That's a really impressive save. Credit to him. But most of the time, you know, if you guys are nerds and you like XG and stuff, that reflects really well on Kostic right there. That's an expected goal. How sad is it now that, hey, it didn't go in, but like he creates a lot of expected goals. We can reasonably expect him to score, and you know that's worth something.
I hate that stat so much, man. I don't know why they overemphasize it now, because like even when we're doing pregame shows on the FOP Mob, we're like looking at it. There's like 2 sections dedicated to expected goals, expected shots, and I'm like. And like there's like this clip where I was watching some analytical crap, some stats just to look at, you know, Juve over the years, and like this guy was prioritizing the expected goals thing. I'm like, dude, I don't care about what could have happened. I'm looking at what happened.
It's just data, you know what I mean? But here's the thing. Here's the problem with it, right? Is you try to project the future based on the past. I mean, every individual game can be an outlier, or kind of is an outlier. It's just one piece of data, right? You know what the data and the stats didn't predict? That was Christian Eriksen almost dying of a heart attack at the Euro. Like,
yeah,
crazy,
I'm laughing at that, but yes,
like crazy things happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean that year actually was happening a lot. That's a little weird, but you know, whatever.
Say, did Aaron Ramsey
conspiracy
score?
theories out of this shit?
Did Aaron Ramsey score before that happened? Because usually whenever he scores, somebody just bites the dust.
yeah. That was the thing that used to happen a couple years ago. It's true.
Oh my gosh!
I didn't even know about that until like that had been circulating
Dude,
for years.
what was it? So this is like so you guys remember Paul Walker from the Fast and the Furious series? So like Ramsey
See, but hang on. Right, I gotta interrupt you right there, Dash. That's a little weird right there. If we start getting into like actors dying or like Joan Rivers died after like Aaron Ramsey scored, the Queen died. Like if it was within football, that would be especially weird.
But like there's a conspiracy video on YouTube with like football like mishaps after Aaron Ramsey scores, like a team just dropping a game out of nowhere or losing a game or something like that. Like,
is this an actual thing?
There is an actual.
We're watching. We're gonna do a reaction.
We got to do a reaction video.
Okay.
To
I'm
it,
looking it
like,
up right now, just to kind of give some data.
Because there is like a thing like people used to do whenever Aaron Ramsey scored something metaphorically, whether it be like something metaphorically or a physical human being would just pass or something. And you're just like sitting there and you're like, what?
People die
like,
every day. Like anybody can make a connection.
Yeah, I know. But like the thing is like Ramsey, especially like when he was at Arsenal, like because he never really scored. And when he did, like it was just insane. Like I remember there was memes on like footy memes and a bunch of back when Facebook was actually used. Like there was like a bunch of meme pages that like, hey, Aaron Ramsey scored. Everybody's like looking around. And then like,
listen, guys, I don't know enough about. Listen, again, it's a little hazy in my mind because it's been like 2 years probably, if I had to guess, 2-3 years, probably a couple years since I've heard about the theory. But I'm pulling up this article here from GlasgowWorld.com, and recall he used to play for Rangers. Is he still at Rangers? Is that where?
No,
he's
somewhere.
Is he in Turkey now or something?
He's in Turkey or France.
Where is he? Where is Aaron Ramsey?
I'm gonna Google it. You go ahead and read the article.
Who does Aaron Ramsey play for? Okay, yeah, you do that. So listen, what is the Aaron Ramsey curse? This is from 2 months ago. What is the Aaron Ramsey curse? Fan theory of ex-Rangers star explained, so he doesn't play for Rangers anymore. After the death of Olivia Newton-John. Guys.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
That is so out there.
Like, you know, a rapper dies every month. You know, he scores and 2 weeks later, like Takeoff dies. Whatever.
Yeah, well, so
again, I don't know enough about the theory. Maybe there's a little bit more of a trend there. That's a little bit more troubling. That irks you, kind of like the 27 Club. I don't know. Is it a British icon that dies? Maybe, you know, I don't know. But Olivia Newton-John.
No,
she wasn't. She was with John Travolta in that.
Yeah, she's American.
That movie, that Grease movie.
Yeah,
I thought she was. I don't know. I thought she was like a royal for a second. I don't know why. Anyway,
it's the 3-name deal.
Gosh, because what was it? I think the recent one was in the Euros when Ramsey scored for Wales. Everyone's like, "Hey, everybody, his Juventus career just died, and everyone just lost their stuff." But
who's he playing for?
He plays for Nice in France.
He's for Nice now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in France.
Wow. Okay.
So like, yeah, that guy was like an absolute meme tool back in the day, especially like when he was scoring goals in Arsenal because. It wasn't as frequent now, but like back then in like 2012, 13, 14, whenever he would do it, something would happen and people would just start like being on edge over it. I don't think it's as bad as it now as it was back then, but if we were to get into the Aaron Ramsey conspiracy theories, guys, we'd keep you on here for like 10, 12 hours.
Yeah, keep that guy out of like MLS. Like make sure that guy keeps playing top flight football forever. You know, if he drops down to the championship and starts putting him in a little more, I mean, yeah.
Speaking of MLS, because I know Farhad originated out of LA, did the LA fan club, created it. And we have a connection there. Giorgio Chiellini wins the MLS Cup with LAFC, another title. I mean, I love Chiellini, so why not?
And he loves you. He still loves you. He posted on the weekend, I think, saying it was a perfect weekend. He won the title, and then Juve. He actually posted as the thumbnail of that post. Juve celebrating over Inter, and then him celebrating his American title win as a secondary, post on the slide. So yeah, he loves you too, buddy. He loves you very much.
Gosh, my favorite Chiellini in LA clip was when he like hit that shot from 45 yards out, hits the post,
so
and like
good.
And like Bonucci and everybody are looking at him like, "Yo, what the hell is that?" And Chiellini's like, "This is like
look at the elite." Yeah, they're all looking at each other. Where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah. He's like, "This is like shit. I don't know."
It was really funny too because he shot it in. If you haven't seen the clip, I'm sure a lot of people have, but if you haven't seen it, it's exactly how you're imagining it because he lined it up in that weird, awkward way that he kind of gallops with the ball, you know, with his shoulders kind of rolled forward. Yeah.
And he sends it 40 meters into the air through the uprights, gets gets the field goal, first down LAFC. No,
there was something funny. There was something funny about it because there's something funny about how he plays. His passes, my father pointed this out to me. The way he passes is very dramatic.
Yeah, like you know, lunging forward,
very deliberate. He really guides it with the open left foot. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Chiellini's probably like the most like as far as like how he plays is like the most over exaggerated, like overexerting whenever he moves or he passes or he dribbles. It's almost like you're about to get hit by a truck looking at how just Chiellini just moves at you. Like it's funny because like whenever you see him take a shot, he does like that weird gallop and then he just rips it. He doesn't even care if it goes up to the right or to the left. So it's like seeing that too. And that thing had like an arc, like it was a low curve, like it was like a swaz to the lower post. And that I was like, I remember watching that game too. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like looking at it with my dad. I'm like, when did he learn how to do this? I've never seen this before.
I think for some of these Italian players, like you look at Bernardeschi, for instance, they just have so much more time and space that they're just like, all right, I'm just going to rip this thing. Nobody's going to stay in front of it. Let's go.
It's also a confidence thing. Like, but Bernardeschi's a really good player. He always has been. Like he was already like one of the better technical players in Italy. It's all in the head.
Yeah.
You know, like you go down a level and you think that you're the big dog and you really kind of, I don't know, if you're welcomed with open arms by a bunch of wops at the airport, you're getting paid the most money on the team, and then you run through practice and people are kind of like respecting you. They're like, oh, you know, this guy won the Euro, let's, you know, champ, and they're kind of just throwing, you know, glance over, oh, how good is he technically? Oh, well, okay. And that almost kind of fosters like an environment the first couple of practices where like they don't want to tackle you. I don't know. Like it could just be little subtle things where he starts training with them and he's like, oh my God, I'm the guy. And then he's off. That was him when he was 21 years old, 22.
Yeah.
You know,
he's reimagined
23. Now. Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm a TFC fan, so I'm all for it.
Yeah. I mean, because at Juve, I'm pretty sure nobody took him seriously as far as players go. Like, I mean, the guy was being cycled left back, center mid, center back, just a bunch of random positions when he was there. So I'm pretty sure.
Didn't happen the first year. You know, it's tough.
Yeah.
You grab the bull by the horn. You have like 1 year to make an impression. We've even seen like guys who have kind of made a decent first impression, then sort of fizzle out, like McKennie. I don't know what's happening with
Douglas
him now.
Costa. He was one of those.
Yeah, like again, like I feel like I shit on McKennie a lot. I don't mean to, but like he's just one of those guys who's probably not gonna have ever. He's not gonna become a Juve legend. He'll be gone in a couple of years, and you know he's serviceable
by next summer,
right? But sure,
that's what I'm
sure.
He's gone. He's gone.
Great, you know. And you know how would you describe his tenure overall? You know,
he was
comme ça. You know,
yeah, he had some Chipotle jokes.
Chipotle jokes,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's sponsored by Chipotle. So like he is the official like brand sponsor of Chipotle in the US. So like whenever like you'll see it now during the World Cup, whenever there's a Chipotle ad, you'll just see McKennie.
Yeah, you know, it was mutually beneficial. You know, Juve gave him a platform. He gave Juve a couple of headed goals and some interesting sound bites on the Amazon Prime doc. Like
and got some more Americans watching.
Whatever. Sure.
Well, and, you know, and I think this is on McKennie now because like McKennie needs to sit there and be like, okay, crap, this is what my game is. Because he's still young. So I think McKennie needs to either evolve or leave. If he doesn't evolve, I think
he'll leave. He'll leave and he'll do fine elsewhere. But again, you have a select amount of time before the grace runs out. And again, I'm not even saying that he kind of overstayed his welcome at all. I think Bernardeschi did.
Yes.
Not grab the bull by the horns in the first year, and then it all got weird. That's just what happened. Like he was 23 when he signed, so he's at the age where it's like, okay, like we signed him for really big money. But we also had a pretty deep squad, and Paulo Dybala was kind of like the de facto right-sided attacker. So it was tough. Like he just didn't get a lot of game time, and his confidence was probably shot after that. Like it's really that simple. Dude, I have a theory that Bernardeschi was toast because I actually saw him make his debut for us in the Supercoppa against Lazio, and it just didn't go that well. And there's a lot of like nuance that kind of gets lost when you're not at the game, when you're just watching on TV. But when you're in the stands, And bear in mind, this was a Supercoppa against Lazio at the Olimpico, but all those games are at the Olimpico, or they're at, a stadium in Qatar or Saudi Arabia. They're at a neutral. They're considered neutral. So even though we happen to be playing Lazio in Rome, I mean, we could have been playing Atalanta. It still would have been in Rome. So the fans are half in the stadium, right? The ticket sales are split half. So there's like 30,000 Juve fans in the stadium. Guy makes his debut. He had a couple of poor touches, and I think at one point he asked Douglas Costa to switch sides, and the fans just got on his back and started booing him, saying, "What the fuck? Like, what are you, a pussy? Stay on your side? Will you blame? Oh, you're like, I don't know. It felt bad right out the gate, and I just thought, ooh, this is tough. And now I'm an older, I still feel like a young man. I'm older than he was then. That happens to me 2 years ago. Even if I'm confident as a footballer, Christ, it takes a lot of resilience to get through that. And that's all that probably happened there. But like with De Ligt, a lot of you guys who listening, I remember a lot of comments we got were like, hey, maybe he ain't it. We were divided. We were divided for a while. You kind of have to navigate a period of adjustment in the beginning, be it that you're in a new league or you're in a club of a different caliber or whatever the case may be. I think that's all that happened there,
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there because it's just like you could tell from his first season there, like his body language, like the dude looked like just almost like deer in the headlights some of the times.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I mean, and I feel bad for him because the thing is like I always was questioning that deal because that was the same season we brought Douglas Costa in from loan from Bayern Munich before we even bought him.
Yes.
So it's like because here's the thing about that year, and I'll just touch on it briefly so we can talk about something else instead of the past. But we're running a 4-2-3-1. Where you had Khedira and Pjanic as your double pivots in the middle. You had Mandzukic on the left, Dybala in the center. Douglas Costa was coming in to be on the right, and then you had Higuain. So it was Douglas Costa and Cuadrado at the time that were alternating that right wing. So when they bought Bernardeschi for the money that they bought him for, originally I thought maybe we were going to do something with Cuadrado. That's why we were getting him, but then we kept him. So Bernardeschi technically fell down to like third in the depth chart on that specific position. And then maybe it was like, hey, we're going to, because I know Allegri wanted to experiment by throwing Douglas Costa on the left, Cuadrado on the right, and then switch Cuadrado with Bernardeschi. But Bernardeschi got hurt his first season. And then even when he came in, it just looked really, really lethargic, which was weird because he wasn't the guy that was expected to be the guy. I mean, he was there to fill a role and develop into it. So for him, I think he just got jaded. And then like when Sarri came in, he thought it was like, hey, it's my fresh start with Sarri and Ronaldo and blah, blah, blah.
We signed Ronaldo, who's a winger, and I know he was kind of a hybrid winger by that point, but we signed Ronaldo, who's a winger nonetheless. We signed Chiesa, who's a winger. It's almost like he was almost a bit of a victim of circumstance, and it kind of forced the club's hand,
I do
getting more guys. I don't know why. I get. I know Dave probably wants to move on here, but
it's just funny.
I like him. I like him.
I do too. And it's usually me that goes on about him.
I always liked him. He's a good guy. I feel bad. I don't know.
I mean, like
in the spot for him. I was so happy when he scored those 2 pens. It was so stupid because he should be scoring pens. But it's like it felt like a perfectly poetic narrative that he would come in after everyone was like, "Oh no, he's coming up to take the pens," and he missed, right? Because he's a mental midget and he's fucking and but you know what? He's maybe a bit more resilient than we thought. Because he had sufficient ice in his veins to score that penalty. And are we over? Is life random, right?
Yeah, no, of course.
The goalkeeper just has a gut feeling that he's going to go one way versus another. Who the hell knows, right? Like,
yeah. But I think it was good for him anyways, because that was the Pirlo season, and that was when he was being played as a left back, and the poor guy was getting skinned alive almost every game, and the entire fan base hated him for it. So the fact that he was able to step in the Euros and do that, I was like, that's good for you, man. I'm happy.
But he was playing his position too.
Yeah.
And like who else? Yeah, Berardi. I mean, you had Chiesa, of course. Insigne. I mean, they just gave Insigne 14 million at Toronto, and Berna's the one that's doing all the work.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but he keeps on showing up. He keeps on playing, so he's got some heart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for him, man. He's living his life, man.
So, guys, is this the year that you guys think that Nicola Fagioli becomes I don't know, the guy? Do you think he becomes do you think you don't think he becomes a bond?
Well, he's 23 now, right? Going
he's 20. He's 21. 21.
Is he only 21?
Yeah, 21. I think I actually like him a lot, and I found he is. I think like a lot of fans of the club, I think you guys probably all agree he's shown promise for a little while, but sometimes it only takes a couple of little things that kind of just shift public perception and shifts the coach's perception and gives you a little bit more confidence, gives him a little bit more responsibility. And for some reason, I think that this is a year that he really comes into his own. I think there's a real chance that you see him playing a lot more over Miretti by the end of the year, which is fine. Like, he's older than Miretti.
Yeah.
Miretti's also more versatile. We saw,
Yep.
I give him credit for playing a more advanced role the other day. That was interesting.
And he's
That
not
was
great
cool.
at it.
No, but he did it. Like
yeah,
he did.
He
did
doesn't
it.
have the finishing touch. That's kind of his problem. He even said so. He can't really finish right now, and he's waiting to get that first goal.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
either you work on that and evolve, or you just say, hey, listen, like, that's not the type of player I am, and maybe it's too early for us to really know. It's okay to experiment. I get it, but I don't know. I think in the case of Fagioli, I think he's starting a lot of games at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think he's trending into that positive direction. I don't want us, because the thing is like, if we start illustrating, or if the fans start illustrating him as the guy, it takes 2 or 3 bad performances, and then everybody completely turns on him and just completely shuns him.
What does the guy mean? Does that mean that you're getting paid the most money? No, that's not what I mean, right? Like,
no, not that at all. I mean, like, the guy,
is he that? Is he all that? How's
the
how's
next
that,
best thing?
Yeah, like, as far as like,
is he an interesting guy for the next 5 years, where you're like, you know what, I could really see this fucking working out, where he's probably going to be a starter for Juve from the Primavera. He's Italian, and he's consistent. He's not even a fully developed man yet.
Yeah,
I know you kind of
you.
are
Yeah.
at 21, but you haven't even come into dad strength yet. Like, there's a real possibility that he can
flourish,
continue to,
or he
that
just
he can
becomes
continue
a
to
decent. He becomes
So, yeah.
decent, and you get a few $1 million for him.
Yeah, in that respect, I do agree with you there. Because the thing is the one thing that Fagioli has that I find really interesting is he's a dual threat midfielder. So he's almost like, for example, like the basketball player that can drive on you and he can shoot the 3. That's kind of like how Fagioli is in a sense, where Fagioli can penetrate the defense with a pass, but also light you up from distance with a shot, because his shot accuracy is really good. Like, that shot against Lecce was really good. I mean, even the goal against Inter, for him to have enough pace on the ball where, yes, it skins Gosens, but it's able to still maintain a trajectory and go into the net.
I think he's special, guys. Like, I don't know. I know it's a weird narrative. We've been looking for the new Claudio Marchisio. Maybe there will never be another Claudio Marchisio, right?
You have the history of jumping on the young ones, though.
I know, but
I know,
but come on, like, I'm examining what it is I'm seeing before me. Like,
it's nice. The past couple matches have been nice.
Yeah, but he in particular, I'm doing it based off of what I'm seeing, right? Like, I think a lot of young guys at Juve have. I think we've been starved of young Italians at Juve. That's what you're referring to, Dave, right? Like, just how I historically,
you crave young boys.
Yeah, I crave young boys. Yeah, me and Epstein. Like, we're no, like, I know what you're saying, but I'm doing it based off of what I've observed here. Like just this season, he seems to be at a point where he's kind of taken a big jump. And
he has.
I don't know that there will ever be another Marchisio. Marchisio is Marchisio. Fagioli could be Fagioli. He could be a different type of guy. There may never be another Del Piero, but that's fine. That's fine. We don't need another guy who's of the same stature, who shoots with the same foot, who's number 10. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
But,
no, I gotcha.
But
so
I think he could be a guy that is constantly.
No, I do too. But I think the one thing right now that's like I don't want to say his minus, but like the one thing that he's weak at, and I think Sandro Tonali had the same issue too, was his game speed. I still think he's a little bit slow as far as game speed wise, not like slow as and he can't run, but like I think once he starts to kind of adjust his game to it, or adjust it, because remember, Pirlo's not a fast player. Pirlo isn't known for being able to sprint and run up and down, but Pirlo is able to anticipate where you're going to be and where the ball's going to be, so he's able to compensate for it. I think once Fagioli incorporates that, or actually like integrates that better, which comes in with experience and more game time, so I think that's what's going to be like the difference maker for Fagioli. Because the thing is I like the Marchisio comparison, but I also see his pass accuracy.
Player.
Yeah, it's not the same player.
It's not the same player. That's why I'm saying too. Like, there's only one Marchisio because it's that platitude that no two snowflakes are alike. It's everyone's physiology is different. Things are random. Marchisio started playing right after we came back up from Serie B. Like, there were just certain like environmental factors that allowed him to come into his own when he did, and kind of evolve. That it makes sense. It makes sense that that everyone's kind of path is different and random. And to an extent, you could argue that like had we, won the last 2 titles the last couple of years and made a Champions League final and lost it again, because that's what we do, right? But still, we made another final, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he never plays for us. Maybe we keep sending him out on loan back. He's 21.
No.
What do we need?
That
He's
could
impressing,
happen,
but
yeah.
hey, look at these other new shiny toys that we've brought in.
Yeah.
I think that there just may be some environmental factors that are going to allow him to come in and well, I mean, that have allowed him to come in, I should say, past
They are
tense,
happening.
but in the future that will continue to allow him to do so.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with Pedri and Gavi in Barcelona, because they lost Iniesta, Xavi, and all those great midfielders that those guys were able to come in, and Barcelona wasn't winning leagues or making Champions League finals, so those two came in.
Or
it's
just dropped to Europa League like us.
It's unusual that the guy above my shoulder over here, comes in and scores 2 goals for a huge club. And I'm pointing to Federico Makeda on the back of my, for people that aren't watching on YouTube. Look, Makeda scored 2, what did he score? 2 goals for Man United in like 2 weeks when he was like 18, and he was like, hailed as like a new stud. And, now he's playing in Turkey. I get that it could happen, but Fagioli's a bit older. It's very rare that you'll have somebody kind of just flip the switch almost. If I don't know, just sometimes a guy's life just changes overnight. He has a couple of performances and you're like, okay, he's never going back. Or like you call up a guy from AAA or from the minors and he never gets sent back down. You know?
So you think this is his big call up, and he's
you're the starting quarterback, gets injured, he's out for the whole season, and
Tom Brady,
the recently
like
recruited
this kid, whatever, gets his call up.
Sure, that's it. You never look back. I think this could be one of those.
Let me throw this question per se, or this topic for discussion for it, and let's see kind of where we all kind of come up from it. So Moise Kean, 2018-2019 season, second half of the season, was coming in, subbing in, scoring goals left and right. And, everyone's like, hey, this kid's got it. This kid flicks the switch. So I'm not saying that Fagioli is going to follow the same trajectory as Kean. Absolutely not. But I'm saying, is it a possibility that essentially Fagioli might have a good streak and then absolutely disappear like Kean, which I think there might be a possibility of it? Or are we just, kind of trying to cling on to something young that's doing well because of what happened with Kean?
Yeah, I'm wrong all the time. That's it's very possible. Yeah,
I like your optimism towards it though, Sam.
But I also think it's harder to be a forward because you have to score all the time.
If you're not scoring as a forward,
Fagioli could not score for the rest of the year, but he could be relevant, a relevant cog to how the system functions. It's different to be a midfielder. It's uniquely difficult. Being a goalkeeper is uniquely difficult. Being a center back is uniquely difficult. He just has to play the position that he plays well. Being a forward is uniquely difficult because you have to score and produce it, and Kean stopped doing that.
But here's a cool tidbit about our midfield right now. 10 goals out of our midfield, and 2 of those are Nicolo Fagioli.
Sure, yeah. Rabiot, listen. Rabiot's he's had a good year, and he's had moments that still kind of make you scratch your head. And I realize I don't know anything about anything about him. Like he's been at my club for years. I don't know how to. I mean that honestly.
He's got a saucy mom, and he's trying to get that $20 million a season contract.
I don't know how to describe him. If someone were to ask, other than like
that image right there is all you need to see.
Yeah, she looks very French in that picture. She looks very unpleasant. Like she looks like a French politician, like uniquely unpleasant. You know what I mean? Like,
so Sam, you speak at least a bastardized version of French. That's Quebecois. I was trying to school people. Like I'm horrible at French, but I know a little bit just because of where I live. But not. Just pronounce it for us in French.
Not.
Okay, there you go. I was going through this like really weird description of how to pronounce French, and you just had to pretend that you have something in your throat.
It's one syllable. It's an easy one. It's an easy one. If I were to, so can I type in this chat?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Here, actually, I'll type in the private chat here that we have. So I want you to pronounce this. Okay, this French club. It's a little tougher.
No, like Strasbourg.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Right. Okay. But Strasbourg.
Strasbourg. Yeah, I'm not perfect.
You got to
at
put
it,
a
'cause
little
I've
bit.
only-
You got to put a little bit of German mustard on it too, because
That's right, 'cause
of
it's
where
in the
it's in
east.
Alsace.
Yeah.
Yes, Strasbourg. But yeah, there's a little bit of cuntiness that you kind of have to have emanate from your voice when you do it properly. Il est de Strasbourg. A little bit of indifference. It's hard to emanate that. From no, it's an easy one.
It's easier,
just don't sound like a twat,
and that's the thing Dash does, because he's American and he's like nonce.
Sure, right. Yeah.
Hey, so my dad told me that.
Nantes.
Yeah, my dad's using the
he says it with a Hispanic accent or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's just because I'm Albanian, so us Albanians can't pronounce like 90% of the stuff that's outside of Albania. So, like, yeah, I was like, because for the longest time I'm hearing Nantes, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, it sounds Spanish, but why is it in France? And then Dave's like, no, dude, it's not. I'm like,
sounds like it's in Basque Country or something.
Yeah, I'm like, shit. I'm like, that makes sense now.
You made a good point earlier. It's a real callback, Dash, but I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that you kind of want to wrap on?
So I forgot to mention this when we were talking.
Because there is one. This is the second time that I actually want to bring this up, and I've kind of circled back to see if you guys have anything to kind of still get to, because I know that this is going to kind of like, it's going to go in a completely different direction, and there's going to be no going back from it. So if we have any kind of points to get out,
I got
speak them now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah. So when we're talking about focusing on the league, there was this interesting stat I forgot to tell you guys, and I'm sorry for it, but same time in 2015-2016 season, Juve was 10 points off Napoli at this point of the year, and Juve rallied to win the title.
Bam.
I don't know, if we believe in superstitions or anything like that.
I told you, it's Napoli. Anything could happen.
But this was because it was interesting, because to be honest with you guys, I wasn't sitting there like actually like charting it off on a calendar on like some astrology shit or something like that. But like I was going through Twitter, and I just saw an Allegri meme where Allegri has like that dumb smile on his face. And I was reading the meme where it says, when Allegri purposely tries to set Juve up for a 15-16 comeback. And then someone says, at this point in that season versus now, same exact point total, same exact difference. And then he's like, Juve goes on to win the title. I'm like sitting there, I'm like,
I want to let Napoli have this one, guys.
Oh, come on! You have a love affair with that city, though.
I like it's we're not winning the title this year, right? Like if it happens, like listen, I'll humbly accept. I'll be like, all right, but like, how do we just keep getting off on like their suffering? Like it's almost like fucking borderline BDSM.
No.
Type
so
thing.
It's not Napoli's suffering. It's De Laurentiis' suffering that I get off on.
To see old the rich old man with the little man complex. That's fair.
Yes.
I listen. I can't listen. If it's not going to be us, I got to see Napoli win one, because they're not going to shut the fuck up otherwise. Let them have it. We got to be the bigger man sometimes and just kind of.
So here's my thing. I would rather have Napoli win than to see Milan and Inter get their second star. I will say that. I would rather have Napoli win the title than see Inter or Milan get a second star. That is it right there for me.
Yeah, again, I don't want Napoli to win instead of Juve. If we're to mount this comeback, I'm on board. But it's like I would feel so bad. Like I don't know. Just there's such a complex now. They really believe that they can't do it without Maradona. They pray to him. They pray to him legitimately. He's on like murals and walls.
They're insane.
They have shrines in the city. It's bad. Like they think that he's there. Listen, if they won the title, they would think that it's because of him and because of his divine intervention. It's weird. I think it might be good for them. Maybe, if they never won again, that would actually be better, because it would just kind of keep the mystique of Maradona. You know what? I'm changing tone. They can never win again.
Want to keep. That's like that Michael Jordan meme where he says, "Fuck them kids." Sam's like, "Fuck them Napolitans right now."
Yeah, no, but it'll become like a thing of scripture. Hey, we haven't won in 200 years, but we did that one time with that prophet,
I was in an Argentinian steakhouse in Malaga, Spain, and there was a mural of Maradona. He's everywhere.
It's a real cult of personality around that, man. It's true, but it's real bad in Naples. It's real. Yeah, it's serious. But I think it would be very bad for the church if they won. If it would be, if they want to tithe and what's the word? Is that what you call it? when you donate to the church, when they skim a little off the top, they would take like a tax. I think it's called a tithe, right?
Oh,
Like
tidings.
Tithing, is that what it is? I don't know. Like
yeah.
I think it would be financially beneficial for the church, like if they want to really cement their status as a religious organization and kind of develop a strong kind of bond with that city and cement it forever. They gotta keep not winning, and people will pay hard-earned money to the church, and again, there's no such institution right now, but I think that in a couple hundred years we could have one. I've said,
Easy.
yeah.
But that's the interesting thing about that too, though. Think about it, because and I don't want to do like a whole Maradona versus Messi kind of conversation, but like the fact that it's been like over 40 years since Maradona has like played consistent like top level, that like he is still held as like this religious icon for not just Napoli, but like for other sites and other spots around the world. Like, would we ever see Messi held to that status? Like, I'm just genuinely curious.
So.
Like I don't want to stir up like a whole like argument over Messi.
Maradona's dead.
Maradona.
Maradona's dead. That changes everything. They
canonized
canonized him after he died, but he's also still active. And Messi is seen as more flawed. Excuse me, Messi is seen as less flawed. Maradona was seen as more human. Messi was seen as more of a
man of the people.
No, I would say he was seen as more of like this freak of nature who kind of touched. Was touched by God, not touched by priests. That's another thing. Touched by, just
well, he had the hand of God.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about Messi here. I think people look at Messi as having been a guy who was blessed, but I think because Maradona, I think was the first time that ever really happened, and because he was tortured and on cocaine and stuff. Like the extent of Messi's, mid-career crisis was getting a tattoo sleeve and leaving Barca, right? But Maradona was a whole different thing. His life was a soap opera. It was a lot more entertaining.
There's a story to it.
Well, he's more charismatic too.
So I think it added to the story. Again, though, like if they don't listen, you win 30 years after he fucking last played. That's nothing. You got to go like a century, and it's got to be like it's got to be like when did they last win? 1990 or 1989, 90, 91, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's got to be like the 100-year anniversary. Okay, of his last contribution to a Napoli title. People will have gone an entire lifetime without having seen, not an entire generation, entire lifetime, having not seen it happen. And then it happened. Then,
yeah, but
that's the best thing that can happen for the church. They cannot win. They cannot win.
And
I'm switching my tone on it.
Here's the thing you got to add to it too. There's got to be some wonder kid with the name Maradona on the team when it happens. Then Napoli absolutely just loses their mind.
Oh, I mean, Cavarscalia, whatever's Maradona right now for those people.
Like just some kid shows up with the name Maradona.
It was well pronounced, Dave. That was very.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, very impressive. Where is he from? He's Georgian. I thought he was Albanian for a second. I had a brain fart.
No, Dash is Albanian.
No, I know. We were talking about Albania.
Yeah, but you're right. He's Georgian.
It was like Kosovar for a sec. Hey guys, so. You know what? I might have to save this for the Calcio pod. I think I might just rant on this later tonight. I'm about to bank an episode. I mean, I feel bad keeping you guys off. I feel bad keeping you guys off.
We segued.
So but it's like I think we gotta. I don't know. We're in a good place.
Before you start though, sure. I have to cut you out because I got to do a couple things for Farhad. Because I mean it is his show. So is
this all the shit that we were supposed to do at the start of the show? Get the business out of the way.
It now for the people that listen. Number one, there's a picture of Farhad and Alessandro Del Piero. He felt that he needed to share this because on the 9th of November, so if you're not listening live, by the time the podcast comes out, it's Del Piero's birthday. So happy birthday, Del Piero. Farhad is an insane fan of this man. I think, he's in love with him. All of our gear, not all of it, but most of our gear is AVP related.
A tattoo of one of his quotes.
Everything.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's that. But furthermore, he wants to give away a poster. And I'm just going to...
It's actually better that you're doing it later in the show because people kind of who have stuck around and didn't tune out after a few minutes and then flick on another podcast and kind of flick back and forth. Exactly. This is good. People who've listened consistently all throughout till the end, they're going to be benefited. They're going to be rewarded, I should say, for their listeners. Their diligent listening. Yeah, sure.
So when we put out the tweet, for the podcast, anybody who retweets will be entered to win this poster. Il Capitano. So there it is right there. Of course, if you just want to buy one, it's there at the store, turngiants.com. But retweet this. So that will be at Juve Podcast. That is the main account.
It's on a hoodie too. It's on a hoodie too, guys.
Yes.
Check it out. Check out the other apparel.
Mine's in the mail, the pink one.
Okay. Yeah. Good call. Good call. That's the same one that I got. It looks very sharp.
Yeah.
I rocked it on the BBC in glorious 480p with a pimple on my nose.
And if you want to see that video, join the Discord. There's the QR code, or just go in the description. I can share that link. It's private. I'm not throwing it out on the internet because of any copyright issues, but we have ways of showing it to you.
Yeah, just get log into a British VPN, and if they ask you, do you have a TV account or TV package plan, just put your hand on the Bible, swear to God that you do, and they'll let you into the BBC website.
Yeah, you can do it that way too.
It's not a great interview, guys. It's brutal, and I look like fucking Rudolph in October, but with a pimple on my nose for Halloween. But go nuts.
Didn't even notice. Don't even worry.
Nah. Look. What was I gonna say? Christ.
You're gonna go on the heavy topic.
Yeah, we're gonna go on that one topic that we're gonna go completely off the rails.
I built up too much anticipation for it now. Like it's over.
We got to do it, guys. We got to do it. The viewers are gonna. We're
half
blue
nutty.
I was gonna say something about the merch. Actually, is what I was gonna. No, this is right now. My brain was elsewhere. I felt like I'd gotten diverted from my point. You were talking about how you ordered the pink sweater. Look. So I was thinking. By the way, no, hang on. I went down a rabbit hole. I'm on Instagram right now. I just went to Del Piero's page. He's I wanted to see that he posted with like Chiellini, because I realized that he's living in LA right now, and LAFC just won the MLS title. I'm not surprised. Here's the thing. It's so great that Chiellini's playing in LA, because he and Del Piero are like interacting all the time now, and they actually go on Italian TV right now. They get into a studio together, and they get on Zoom together, and they'll give opinions and takes on Juve in the Champions League, which they watched 9 hours behind. It's really cool. I saw that a few months ago when I was in Italy. It was really cool. Sorry. So okay, I don't know. I'm dragging this on here. I'm kind of look. So what I'm realizing is so Agnelli stuck by Allegri through this whole latest campaign to have his head on a spit, right? A lot of fans are not happy with how the season has gone overall, and a lot of people have been saying Allegri out unequivocally. It's been trending and shit, and I've realized how Dash, you were saying that Arsenal deserve a lot of credit for sticking by Mikel Arteta all these years and kind of seeing it out and hoping that eventually it would come to be and it would all work out. I'm realizing that Agnelli's kind of doing that with Allegri, but it's really just like the two of them against the world. Like Agnelli's kind of saying, listen, I'm putting my trust in you and I'm going for broke, because if this doesn't work, it's bad. Our sponsors aren't going to be happy, and we're going to really have to seriously cut back on a lot of expenditure. We're going to have to sell a lot of players, offload their contracts, and we really have to blow everything up and start afresh. And that ain't easy, and we got to find a new coach. It's kind of like they're kind of tied into it through suffering and through the risk of consequence. It's kind of like Hillary and Bill. They committed so many crimes together, and it's you got blown in the Oval Office, but what are we gonna do? I gotta stick by you here. I gotta stick by you. I gotta stick by you because I know you better than anyone knows you, and and we don't fuck anymore, and we haven't for a long time. And when we were, it wasn't good. God knows it wasn't good. But
can we make?
But we still only have each other. We still have each other.
Out of that, I want a shirt just in Yelly and Yelly and Allegri as Bill and Hillary. Oh, that would make so much merch money.
Which one's on their knees?
Yes,
I don't know. Just
I'm thinking
you need a Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I threw that one off, but yeah,
Monica Lewinsky is like she would be the metaphoric. Metaphor,
sure. Yeah,
she be metaphoric. Is that what it is? She would be the fucking Jesus, the words evading me. Let's go. She in this metaphor, she would be like all the losses, like just dealt. And she'd be like a blow, right? A blow to the regime and a blow to the marriage and to the relationship. And I'm sticking by you, Yeah, I don't know. They're like Bonnie and Clyde,
Yeah, and it's funny because it's election night in the U.S. and we're using this as an analogy. So it's funny. So now we're gonna get bumped by the algorithm because we said something like that.
Hey, there's people watching us over American politics, and there's pretty much a bunch of Americans listening right now. So good on you for listening to us. Screw politics. This is way better. Let's keep on going.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to just like level the playing field next time and come up with like just come up with a Trump metaphor, euphemism, right? In Italian football, like a Trump euphemism. Maybe I'll just talk about wanting to fuck your daughter or something. Like I'll come up, just being a figlio di papa, just taking a loan from your dad. Like you could do this both ways. This is, I'm neutral. I'm playing Switzerland over here.
Chelsea's old owner Roman Abramovich was like a perfect iteration of Trump because like with any manager that would walk in, he's like, "You're fired." Less than like literally, he is the epitome of the "you're fired." Owner. Like that dude would fire a coach for no freaking reason.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's fair.
KB had to come in and ruin too. He's following the midterms on another channel. I thought we had something here, guys.
Yeah, no, I thought you loved us, man. Like Jesus.
What channel are you guys watching the midterms on? Let's single out KB.
Fox, CNN.
I want to know. I want to gauge what kind of listeners we got over here. I want to know if they're. I want to know where they skew. Let's give him a chance. Let's give him a chance to comment. I think he's not going to want to. Maybe we're not going to put him on the spot. It's fine. Now, thanks for tuning in, guys. Is there anything you guys want to add before we wrap up? And
here he is, Anthony Brian Logan.
Oh, that's new.
I have no idea who that is.
I think he's an
new age. New age. That's where it's at. There we go. Yeah, I'm watching the midterms with a Twitch streamer. Like. He doesn't have opinions on anything. He won't.
Yeah, that Asmongold guy. He was doing the whole Johnny Depp trials thing, commenting on it. And he's just like some hippie in his parents' basement or some shit. I don't know. Like people love it, and he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of those guys that does that popped off was that Tim Pool guy. Like a bunch of people, like that guy surged. Like that Tim Pool, yeah, huge now.
It's incredible what you could achieve in your parents' basement, Dave.
I'm in my parents' house right now. Look at me. Hence the fake.
Hey, yeah, we're gonna clip this, and then when we hit like 100,000 subscribers and make it mainstream, we're gonna be like, "Hey guys, you too can do something in your mom's basement." Refer to this podcast episode.
It's a long way to the top. I'll be gone by then, man. I'll hopefully be gone by then. We got a real problem if we're not. Like I'm shit. Things really aren't going for me if I'm still by the. I don't know, unless things really just unless the niche community of English Juve speakers just like compounds and we beat Bognani out fivefold, right? Like it would take a hell of a rise, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, and that's the great thing. We love Beppe. We're not out to take his throne per se, but
no, if we're at 100K, if you guys are at 100K, then Beppe's driving a Bugatti. Let's go.
Yeah, he's at like 2.2 million or something. No, but and the thing is like, and I think this is one of the things where like one of the reasons why the YouTube channel has become really, it's been popping off a lot. Cause I mean, guys, we've done since when did we start this, Dave? Like mid-August?
It was like the week before the league started. I started putting out like teaser videos.
Yeah, so like we've gained about 500 subscribers since then, which is like
organic. It's niche and it's niche, man. It's keep doing your thing. People appreciate it.
Yeah, because like the thing is too is like a lot of the people on the YouTube come in and it's like, hey man, like the one thing that we're appreciated about is like, we're not coming in, we're not jamming stuff down people's throats. It's almost like we're all just sitting and just talking, and like a bunch of people in the chat just come in, they talk, they kind of talk with us, we talk with them, and it's just like this huge environment. Like, we had KB was like one of the OG guys, and Youssef and Bones and all of them were coming in too. So it's like now we're seeing other people follow in and join in as well, and it's like we're all just kind of interacting with each other. I mean,
but it's the larger community too, though, right? Because we interact. It's not like, oh, it's our channel or bust. Like we've had Adrian Sousa from Rabona on. Beppe's been in our chat. We've been in his chat.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a community. It's
and
that's the whole thing.
Beppe always shouts us out in the middle of his stream, whether it's he's like talking about a video that we posted or something like that. Like Beppe is always watching our clips too, and he's like, "Hey man, Turn Giants did this funny goal reactions, how they like predicted all this and all that." Like, yeah, I mean, we're always trying to open up the door to other channels, even though one might have shut the door on us, but it is what it is.
But the point as well, though, because we know it's niche, right? We're never going to be a channel with millions of views like these people that, I don't know, give you baking hacks, for instance, right? But the community that's built in that niche is so much stronger. And there's that personal connection as well. So it's really cool. And to be able to like reach within that community, whether it's, you know, a Benfica fan or it's one of another Juve channel, or who it could even be another Inter channel, right? It doesn't matter. Like the community's out there, and it's just about building those bridges to those communities and just having a good time, because the English speaking Italian soccer fan base, I mean, they're not in Italy, right? We're all removed from that, and we're all looking for a way to kind of connect. And if you are in Italy and you're watching us, even better. I mean, it's just more content, it's just English content.
I mean, they have a lot of content like on TV, just on
BT or
on
Sky
network
Sports.
TV, right? Like their channel, and they're really weird shows, right? Just where it's a lot of old men kind of sitting around a round table, but
with one hot chick.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still, you know, they still have talk on the radio that's very easily accessible. So yeah, I guess that's kind of what this is, right? You're just sort of providing you know, just chatter on stuff that people kind of from other parts of the world are otherwise consuming, right? You're talking about things that they're also experiencing, and it's like, hey, like there are people out there that are actually talking about the same shit as I'm watching. In a language that I can understand, be it, you know, as an English speaker, or as a, you know, English is kind of also a common ground for a lot of people. So yeah, man, it's good. It's great. Cool. Keep it up, guys. Yeah. I'm proud of you guys for doing this and taking on the responsibility. And I always love doing the pod with you guys. So
we always love having you.
Oh yeah,
of course, everyone check out Sam's pod, the Calcio podcast. Great. I love it. I learned so much just about Italian culture and politics as well, which is why I love it, because you're a lot more immersed in it, because you go over there every year. I think it is, right? You're always over.
I've been lucky. I've been over a lot the last 5 years. I'm always made an effort to. I'm still very closely connected to the country, and I don't know. It's just interesting because it's such a Europe is fun. Europe as a whole is fun. You could, you know, there are crazy stories out of Greece or Albania or Serbia, or even like just
dude,
Germany. Like it's all fun.
Oh,
it's just an angle, you know. It's an excuse to do a pod, really. It's creative inspiration in some way, and it's also like
why do you?
There's a lot of Italians abroad who don't spend enough time, I think, thinking about the insane nuance of the country, and also like it's stuff that people may be aware of, but they don't necessarily get to vocalize often. I suppose that's sort of what the pod's goal is. As long as the angle is going to be Italian football, you know, Italian society is going to kind of feature in it as well.
Yeah, and that's part of it, because it's part of the culture. It's so much part of the culture, Calcio, and
it is absolutely, and you know, it sometimes transcends other parts of Italian society too, right? Berlusconi kind of owning a club and being prime minister, right? It's a gift that keeps on giving, you know. Dash is. He was rearing to go when I mentioned Albania. It was
funny because why do you think every European movie has the Albanians as the bad guy? Because, dude, we're either involved in the drug trade, human trafficking, car trafficking, or anything. Like I remember watching the Top Gear episode where they
Taken.
My cousins got smoked in that movie. Thanks, Liam Neeson. No, but I'm just kidding. But like the thing is, I was watching this episode of Top Gear where they did it in Albania, and like the three guys, like Jeremy Hammond and them, were like, "Hey, did you know that David Beckham's car got stolen by Albanians and resold in Albania?" And I was like sitting there, I'm like, yeah,
that's awesome.
Like, you know, you hear stuff like that, and people like will ask me in the US, they'll be like, "Hey, man, I heard this and this," and I'm like, yeah, it probably did happen at some point, or yeah, this did, because like the thing is, man, the Albanians are like the wild card of the Balkans, dude.
Balkans are a wild card.
They are, but like they're like the wild card of the wild cards.
Nuts.
Yeah, it's the Islam.
You know, the funny thing is they're a 50-50 split.
Are they?
Like,
yeah, that region is so interesting. I've mentioned him before. My buddy Boban, he's from Macedonia. He fills me in a lot of the Balkan culture as well. I think it's cool too. It's similar to a lot of different things, but different at the same time.
What's great is when you get a Balkan guy in Italian football, like you get Stankovic, you get Mihailovic, you get Boban at Milan a few years ago, and Boban wanted to leave. Just you saying your friend's name Boban got me thinking of Boban.
Yeah.
Boban. I don't even know his last name. Fuck, I forgot. He goes by Boban kind of in the same way that Ronaldo R9 goes by Ronaldo. He was Boban, right? He used to play for Milan, and then he was a director there with Maldini. You guys remember when he walked because they were going to hire Ralph Rangnick over Stefano Pioli, and he said, no, Pioli's our guy, and he quit in dramatic fashion, and
they stormed out the room.
Yeah. It was, and he was kind of in large part responsible for their success. Him saying, no, like we have to stick it out with this other coach, and he wound up being the sacrificial lamb who they got rid of, even though Maldini basically agreed with him. And then in the end, management wound up sticking with Pioli. They told Ralph Rangnick to go kick rocks, but Boban had already gotten fired. Yeah. So it's like Boban is seeing all this fucking unfolding, and he's like, great, like they're killing it. They're doing exactly what I said. And I quit. I'm gone because I left before they had a chance to decide, because he was so hot-blooded. He was like, I won't stand for this. I'm out. Because he thought it was already a lost case, right?
Yeah.
Or a lost cause, a hopeless case.
Inter was so fun to listen about in those years as well, because that was a soap opera in itself. Just what was going on.
Inter, Milan, both of them were, yeah.
AC in particular for that, like what you're saying.
Right? Yeah. The Chinese owner, that was awesome too. Yeah, and then Berlusconi just sold them to the Chinese owner with Yang Hongli without any due diligence having been done. It turned out that the headquarters of the business, I forget the name of it, it's evading me. It was like an abandoned warehouse in. It was an abandoned warehouse. It might have been Wuhan. Or I don't know where it was.
the origin of the pandy.
Yeah. I forget what it was. I'd have to look it up. You guys should look it up for yourself. Yang Hong Lee, AC Milan. Look up what his business was, and just plug in that business name headquarters. That business name headquarters. At this point, we've gone on so long. We may as well see this out here. Hang on. Yang Hong Lee.
You know, the thing too is like the short list for that Milan team at that time was that guy, and then also like an Albanian oil tycoon that had ties to the Albanian mafia too. So like it was either one or the other, and I think Berlusconi just chose the warehouse. In
everyone that's as loaded as that could afford to buy a multinational corporation or an international football club or an international sport team or something. They're all involved. They're all involved in crime in some way, right? I just love how in Albania it's a little bit more open. Like, oh yeah, this guy is just involved. He's in, like instead of it being like a back deal type thing where they're like shaking hands with the devil and they're all kind of just doing it in secret in the shadows. They got cushy deals with the government, like Yang Hong Lee probably did with China. Basically, every business person in China has deals with the government in order to be able to stay in operation and be allowed to exist and operate. Everyone's in bed with someone. I like that the Albanian guy was just the Albanian conglomerate. Was it a conglomerate or was it a dude who was representing a conglomerate? I love it. Either way, he was accused of being affiliated, like openly, like it's like a known secret.
He's like, yeah, man, me and him were hanging out last weekend. What's up?
It's what it is. Yeah.
I'm looking at there's a whole article. I'm gonna have to read this. Yang Hong Lee, curious tale of Milan's short-lived owner of Vulture Fund and a barbecue. For another time.
God, that was so funny, man, because they bought an entire squad in one single transfer window. Like, that was nuts. Like, they brought in like 12 players, and then they're like, so how are you guys going to pay for this? And he's like, funny for you, I sell the team right away.
Yang Hong Lee headquarters.
Yeah, I couldn't find it. It's a whole article. I didn't want to really kill the vibe with.
I mean, at this point, we're dragging a little bit here, but it's. I wanted to.
You always Chinese come up with these like, left field things, though.
Well, the other one with Yu Sung Kuk.
China soccer. This is from the New York Times. China soccer puts a story team under murky ownership. This was in 2017, Beijing, when the Chinese businessman Li Yonghong bought AC Milan, the world famous Italian soccer club. Virtually nobody nearly had heard of him. virtually nobody in China had either. Mr. Lee had never been named to one of China's list of the country's richest people. The mining empire he described to Italian soccer officials was hardly known even in the mining circles. Nevertheless, Mr. Lee seemed to have what mattered most: money. He bought the team in April for $860 million from Silvio Berlusconi, the former Italian prime minister, to clinch China's biggest ever soccer deal. Today, Mr. Lee's acquisition of AC Milan appears to be emblematic of a string of troubled Chinese deals. And the article goes on to describe the troubled business. It's Berlusconi sold it to him. That's again the gift that keeps on giving.
How much do you think that was like a political thing too? He's making deals with the Chinese because that is a problem. I think he wanted to get rid of
the club. What are you referring to specifically? What do you mean by that?
Well, I
think that was more so towards Inter. I think that was more towards the Inter and Suning deal versus the Milan deal.
But what about Italy dealing with China? What do you mean specifically?
Because China and man, we're getting political now. But
I got a perfect sound bit for this.
Right.
So, and this is just Chinese political tactics. They just try to get their businesses.
You feel like I'm on YTV. Literally, Cartoon Network in 2007.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. Oh my God.
This channel has become very 90s.
All right, I'm out. Yeah, that's
our
nice to you guys.
We're not going to be a soundbite pod. What the fuck? How old? It's like YouTube in 2011. All right. No, what happened, Dave? I'm sorry.
No, they just try to get their business into everything, and that's how they gain their influence. They just kind of put businesses everywhere, and Italy is one of those countries that they've been somewhat successful in doing so. So I'm just making that connection with this whole Chinese companies buying Italian soccer teams, because you buy Italian soccer team, you buy influence in Italy. It's that simple. So right. I make this is a bit of a conspiracy. I'm coming up with this off the top of my head.
I think they've successfully dipped their toe in a lot of different industries across Europe. Yeah. But it's not a shock. It's not a shock. They're the world's superpower now, right? What's funny about that deal was I think it doesn't go any deeper other than the fact that Berlusconi wanted to get the fucking club off of his hands, and he had an airtight contract signed that assured him a payday. That's it. That's all there was to that, I think. I don't know. The first time I ever heard about China dealing with Italy was I was reading the book Gomorra by Roberto Saviano, not the series. So there's not the series. Well, the book is it's a journalistic account of their activities in Naples, and it kind of pulled the curtain back, I think, on how interesting that whole dynamic in that city is. And it did very well in Italy, but then it got translated into a bunch of different languages, and it did very well abroad. So again, this is Roberto Saviano. Roberto Saviano is the guy who, if you watch Gomorra la Serie, the TV show, it'll say based on the book by Roberto Saviano. He's a journalist. He writes for The Guardian now. He's from Naples. But in like 2006, again, he just gave an account of how things were, and he described the history of the Camorra over the previous 30 years. And he's since gone on to interview, and I think in the process of writing that book, he did interview, which was what made it very salacious, bosses and people that were involved, some of whom were arrested, some of whom weren't. He recounted like wiretap conversations and stuff, and they turned it into a movie based on some real life events, but with fictionalized characters. And then they created an entirely different breakaway, nothing to do with the movie show. So we're all familiar with Gomorra, the concept, but basically the book starts out with Saviano describing like a racket that the Camorra through the ports in Naples were orchestrating, whereby Chinese workers who were working in Naples and other parts of Italy, I think, would die, right? They'd die, people die, whatever. And they would, their families, right, would, I think what happened was when these people started working, there was an understanding that when they died, they would get shipped back to China so they could get a proper burial of some kind. So there were apparently there were just like boatloads of boatloads of like cargo headed for China, and they would get out into the ocean and make their way through the Mediterranean. And, I don't know if they would go like, under the around the Horn of Africa and like around Madagascar through the Indian Ocean and fucking halfway around the world. Basically, they would get out like a couple hundred kilometers, and they would just dump the bodies of these dead Chinese people burnt into the Mediterranean.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that movie. I feel like I've seen that movie before.
Are you fucking around? Are you fucking around, or is that actually a movie?
No, well, I mean, the concept's in a movie. Like, what was it? It's it's coming to me. The Transporter one with Jason Statham, like the original Transporter one. No, I'm dead serious, man. Because it wasn't in Italy. It wasn't in Italy, but it was in France that they're importing Asian immigrants through shipping containers, and then whatever people would just pass out or die, they would just dump them into the French Riviera. Like, it was literally the first Transporter movie. Like, I remember seeing a concept like that.
When did that movie come out?
It was like 2002, 2003, maybe.
Oh wow!
Let's look it up. Yeah.
So it's maybe it's just a thing that's been happening. Then the book came out in 2006. It was written in 2006, I think, or 2007. Yeah, so they would just they didn't give a crap about like the Chinese rite of passage into the afterlife. They're Southern Italian scumbags. They just wanted to offload them, and the cycle continues, baby. It's whatever. Yeah.
And it was 2002, the Transporter.
Okay.
So I was close.
Yeah.
We want to wrap this shit up, guys.
Yeah, we might as well. I mean,
we might as well. We're getting in.
We've been going raw for like an hour and 30 minutes. Time to taper down, wrap her down, and bust away.
Yeah. Okay. I'm down with that. It's a good week to be a Juventino. We got a game coming up in midweek. Probably today by the time you're listening to this, right? If this is only coming out overnight, so enjoy. And it'll be very funny how fun it'll be if we just bomb and the entire like positive tone. Fagioli gets a red card, breaks his leg or something. I mean, I've been wrong before.
Come on, man. That means we gotta have to like deal with it for the entire World Cup and winter break, and it's gonna be a pain in the ass for Dave and I to make content without people just sitting there being like, "What the fuck, man? This all fucking sucks. I can't take this anymore."
Yeah, we're gonna hope for the best, positive vibes. Our viewership as well. They're all very positive. That's why we love them so much. So
we actually don't have a midweek game. I'm mistaken. There are midweek games. We're only playing Thursday on the weekend.
Yeah, Thursday.
That is midweek. That's right. Oh shit, I missed that.
End week technically.
You're a comedian now. You don't have days of the week. Like your life is ruined. You just kind of go one day at a time.
I looked for Wednesday and saw we weren't playing Wednesday, and I forgot that midweek can go into Thursday as well. Okay.
Yeah,
Verona.
It's a crazy.
Yeah, that's a banana skin right there, guys. That's a tough one. Lazio as well. Just beat Roma. Could be a very different tone in a week. It could be polar opposite next time that we that you guys fire up an episode of the podcast. But that's what we do. We throw we make absolute statements, and we stick by them, and we defend them no matter what.
But
until we just decide to flip flop and say, "Yeah, I never said that.
I never said that. What are you talking about?" And then they pull up the clip.
Here's what I really think. Here's what I really think. Yeah.
Hey, come on, let's go in it this way. Sorry, chokes and plenty of things, and we're not just talking about cigarettes. So I think.
I'll be here all night. All right, try the veal. I'll be here this weekend. Thank you. Thanks for coming out. All right.
Yeah, definitely with the stuffed cabbage. Let's do this.
TurinGiants.com, at Turin Giants on all platforms, and at Juve Podcast on Twitter. Twitter's the big one that I think most of you guys interact with us with, or just kind of follow along and check out. I don't know. The Instagram's got a pretty large following too, but the interaction's a little
as well.
It is. Yeah,
okay. They were shadow banned for a while. I don't know if you guys know that. That's what Farhad told me. So yeah. So at Turin Giants anyway on Instagram, if you don't follow it already. A lot of clips and shit get posted there. Farhad's very active on that. Dave, are you? Is it also you who helps run that with Farhad now, or was it?
So I am on the official Twitter. All I do is put up the YouTube stuff on the Twitter. I don't deep dive. We have at Turin Giants YT, which is like the account that I run.
Right. Okay. I'm at Calcio Podcast. You can follow me on all platforms at Calcio Podcast, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Still not on YouTube. I'm gonna have to get YouTube's coming eventually, but we're gonna do it well.
YouTube is gonna do a podcast thing. They're getting to podcasting, so it might work for the cross-platform deal.
You don't say. Well, it's shit, it's almost like they should have done it a few years ago before people started uploading podcasts to YouTube.
They should have, yeah. But hey, they're taking over the world. It's Google. I mean, try to stop them.
I love how I'm gonna try to like be like avant-garde and be like the first one to adapt that, and like thinking I'm some early adopter. Oh, it's a YouTube podcast platform. It's very different than people who used to just upload podcasts to YouTube. But I'm gonna dominate this new space. I think TikTok's my best bet because it's the one that has people with the shortest attention spans, and I don't know, and it's open source. like people don't need to click on it. You just log into the app, and my shit could be playing for you, and no one knows why. It's great. It's not gonna last forever. It's too good to be true. It'll be banned eventually.
Yeah, I've never once used the app. I refuse to. Not touching it.
It's my shot. It's my shot at. I got to tell you, based on like how everything else, it's where I do best, and it's probably for the best.
Right on.
Yeah.
As long as it works for you,
I was
right?
gonna say, yeah, because I've been getting asked like, hey, do you guys have like a TikTok where you guys post your reels and stuff? And I was like, nope.
It would do well.
It probably would. It honestly would. I'm just not going to be the one putting that on my phone.
Yeah.
No TikTok right now. Yeah, we have to get like a Gen Z. If like honestly, if you're like I don't know, if you're like 15,
is it awkward to be calling for a 16-year-old girl right now to do this job?
I'll listen,
guys. I'm gonna just sit down.
We're going for age demographic here. The younger, the better. If I'll take a 9-year-old kid. I'll take a 9-year-old kid to run a TikTok if he knows how to edit. Let's do it.
Yeah,
if you're listening to the
hit us up.
Yeah, is it considered child labor? I don't know. It's not real. I mean,
we're all working for free.
Yeah, so no one's really getting screwed out of anything here. It's a passion. You got to explain to a 9-year-old what a passion project is.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I mean, if anyone's listening to the show and you feel like, if you feel that I don't know, if you want to contribute and you're behind the scenes, you're bored, you like, you want to kind of spread the word, and you're a little bit younger and you're proficient online or cutting clips or something. And now again, if you were proficient at cutting clips, you'd probably have a following and you'd be doing your own thing and you'd be too busy to help out with this shit. I understand that. But if you feel confident for some reason that you'll be able to like use Splice or whatever, like hit up the Turin Giants Twitter, or like DM at Juve Podcast on Twitter. Maybe Farhad will see it. He's open to people collabing. But yeah, that's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Alla prossima. Hopefully, things are still looking peachy whenever that is. And much love to you all. Fino alla fine. Forza Juve. Guys, last word.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Stay tuned. Another heavy week. 2 games ahead. Love you all. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Dash.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We talked about Juve. We talked about Allegri. We talked about Kanye. We talked about conspiracy theories. We talked about everything, guys. So also make sure you like it, forward the podcast to your friends. Also check us out on the YouTube stuff so you can see some of our pregame, postgame stuff. So Sam, the outro is on you, my guy.
Okay, we're gonna end it with this, Dave. As soon as I say this, and then you stop recording. Okay, I'm gonna read a comment that just came in right now. Okay, yeah. We ready? This is a great episode. We ended with some conspiracy theories. We got a comment coming in. Middle East tycoons are in bed with UEFA. Thank you. Good night.
Love it. Good night.